Hi, my name is Pastor Hal York, and welcome to Truth in the Trenches. Today we're going to be in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 13. And once again, we have a very important verse. It's amazing how many times in Proverbs we have verses about listening. And I think this is another one of those verses. It says, "He who gives an answer before he hears, it is folly and shame to him." Well, it begs the question, he who gives an answer before he hears what? Well, it could be before he hears the question. Some people, they think they get all the answers, but not only do they think they have all the answers, they think they know all the questions, so they don't have to listen. And so they can be very impetuous. They just don't have to listen to the question because they know the answer. Or they don't hear the other side. Verse 17 of chapter 18 says, "The first to plead his case seems right, until another comes and examines him." And sometimes we need to hear the other side of the story before we make any decisions or draw any conclusions. And that verse 17 talks a lot about that. You just hear one side of the story. Or we don't hear what the issues are. We don't ask questions. We don't want to hear what's at stake, or we don't know what's at stake. Maybe we don't hear the tone of the voice or the countenance or the indication of a heart that's maybe sad or hurting, or we don't sense the fear or the confusion in the one asking the question. We don't feel the weight of the matter. Why do we do this? Because we're impatient sometimes and we don't want to think. We're lazy. But it comes across as a lack of consideration, a lack of love, a lack of caring. And I think there's an important principle here for parents sometimes, that we don't hear the questions that our kids ask because we think we know the answers. And so we stop listening as soon as we hear a certain word or certain phrase. Or maybe we just don't listen because the answer is always no. It doesn't matter what the question is. The answer is no. You can't. You're not going to do that. But let me give you an example of how this works out, what this looks like. We'll say somebody comes to you. Maybe it's your son or your daughter, and they're moving away to a city to live in a big city. And you're a car person. You know cars. You love cars. And you hear them ask a question. You hear them come to you with a question, "What is the best car to buy?" And that's all you hear. And they go on and talk for another 2 seconds or 3 seconds, 5 seconds to finish the question. But all you heard was, "What's the best car to buy?" And in cars, so you rattle off all the good things about this car and that car and the car you always buy and always like to drive and so on. But you didn't hear the rest of the question. It wasn't just what's the best car to buy. It's what's the best car to buy if you're going to move to a big city as a single person. But you didn't hear that. So now all of a sudden, the whole question takes on a whole different dynamic. It's not simply saying, "What's the best car to buy?" Maybe the question is, should you even buy a car? Is there other options? Or what kind of a car would you buy if you did live in a city? Maybe that big car you were talking about, or that big pickup, you don't need that in the city. So if you don't hear the question, you're not going to give the right answer. And I think this is what this verse is reminding us of, the importance of caring enough to listen to the whole question. You're not just sitting there thinking about what am I going to say when they're done talking, but you're listening. And again, Proverbs has a lot to say about listening, especially as parents. Do you listen? Do you listen to the question? I think we've just gone through this cycle in politics, and you listen to politicians talk sometimes, and nothing against politicians, but sometimes the answers they give, you wonder, did they really hear the question? Or they just got these pat answers that as soon as they hear a key word, they know the answer to the question. We don't want to be like that as parents. We don't want to be like that as friends, as fellow believers. We want to listen to people because we care. And so take heed to this simple little verse. He who gives an answer before he hears it, it is folly and shame to him, and it is hurtful and not helpful to the person who asked the question. So be quick to hear and slow to speak. And may this truth guide us and guard us in the trenches of life as we seek to live for the glory of God and the good of others. May God bless.